My name is Frankie Streddar, and I'm here in Inverness to start my journey from Scotland to the Sahara Desert with no technology.
Okay, I'm just trying to find out how I can get to the town centre. I actually got to use a bus timetable for once because no technology. So I think I've got it right that in about 7 minutes a bus is going to come here and take me to Marks and Spencer in the town centre.
7 minutes later and 2 buses passed, I started my journey with a challenge as nothing had stopped to pick me up.
There's 2 buses now that haven't shown up, so the joys of travelling without tech, I guess. Just paper maps and bus timetables that are lying to me. If I can't get from Merkirch to the town centre of Inverness, I'm starting to doubt my abilities to be able to get to the Sahara Desert from Scotland.
I began to realise that bus was never coming, so I decided to set off on foot to the town centre. As someone once said, that's one small step for man. Actually, nah, it was a lot more than one step to get there.
So I'm here in Scotland starting my adventure, asking the question of what it means to be human, and I thought what better way to start than in my home country, but somewhere slightly different where I've not been before. So here we are in Inverness, Scotland. Along the way I'm looking for unique people groups to talk to. Here in Scotland I'm going to be looking for speakers of Gaelic, and there aren't many, so today's first task is going to be getting to the villages where it's still spoken and trying to find a speaker who hopefully can give me some more information on what it's like to be a Gaelic speaker here in Scotland, the last of the Gaelic speakers here in Scotland. So I've made it to the town centre, and the most Scottish thing ever has happened. It's like the call to prayer of the Arab nations. It's the call to the town centre of Scotland by bagpipe. I mean, he's alright, it's not as good as me, but... So I'm now going to try and find my way to the station. I did see the castle back there, and it says here that the castle and the high street are just below the bus station.
And with great delight, I finally found the station.
I've made it here to the train station of Inverness, where I'm going to take a train from here to Kyle of Locouch, where I'll get a bus to Portree, where I'm going to hopefully find some speakers of Scottish Gaelic.
My train arrived right on time, and I set off to new lands. I chose to head to the town of Portree for this leg because it has one of the last strongholds of Gaelic speakers in the entire country. So if I had any chance of finding this endangered Celtic language, it was going to be here.
Okay, I'm officially en route to Portree on the train to Kyle of Locouch. Time currently is 1:36, so I don't think we'll get there until about 6:30, which is going to make it difficult to find somewhere to stay tonight because I'm doing it all by word of mouth.
I spent half my time topping up on research of the region, and the other half admiring the unexpected scenery of the Scottish countryside. Wow. Trust me when I say, I was pleasantly surprised. A few hours later, the train came to an end, and
I've just arrived here in Kyle of Locouch, so now I'm going to try and find a way to head to Portree.
As I took in the mountain view, I worked on my game plan on how I was going to get to Portree.
So while I'm here, I've got about 40 minutes before the bus. I'm going to try and look around some shops and get my hands on a map of the area so that I can make it slightly easier for myself to get down to Portree.
I assumed finding a map in this small town would be a challenge, but to my surprise...
Here we go. Right away, I found maps in the first shop that I've looked in. So I think we're going with this one.
Task 1 complete.
So I've got my map. Exactly what I needed, so now we can head to the bus station with peace of mind that I'm going to be able to actually get there.
Knowing where I wanted to go was the easy part, but...
Mode of transportation though, currently no idea. Just get to Portree and hope for the best, I guess. Maybe there'll be a bus, maybe I'll be able to catch someone who's also going there.
So I headed to the bus station in hopes of finding someone or something to point me in the right direction. Naturally, I stopped for a snack along the way.
Excellent pizza. And these mountains. It's dinner and a show.
Next step was to wait at the bus station, where I found 2 others already sitting. Naturally, we wanted to exchange stories.
Where you go, in Portree?
Yeah, so I'm trying to head to Portree and then up to Wig to find some Gaelic speakers.
That'll be hard
for the next few days. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. But
why do you want to to meet a Gaelic?
I like to travel and find people who speak languages that are quite rare to hear, so I thought Gaelic would be a good one.
They're trying really hard to keep the Gaelic language alive. But if a language is dead, it's dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
The knowledge of the local man didn't stop at Scotland, however. He was ready to offer me something much deeper, the true meaning of life.
I'm going to teach you the true meaning of life.
Okay.
Okay? But fortunately or unfortunately, I've got to teach you in an intergalactic language. You meet another human being, you interact, learn something new, and you move on. True meaning of life. Today, I found you. Tomorrow, you find somebody else. Make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah. I like that. It's very poetic. So I've just met the guy in the bus stop who told me that he goes by the name OGOB, the old guy on a bike. His idea of the meaning of life was about human interaction. You meet someone one day, and then you meet someone the next day, and the next day, and the next day. He said, today I met him, and he met me, and tomorrow I'll meet somebody else. And that is the meaning of life, just to meet new people and to interact with new people.
Do you know the most common question I'm asked in this bus stop?
What?
How do you buy a ticket?
Really?
I'm convinced half of the world flies, trains, and drives limousines and all that. But when it comes to going on a public service,
Nobody knows. But it's been great to meet you and great to talk to you.
I'm not so
Thanks so
sure it was a
much.
wise thing, but
No, it was really good. It was insightful.
yeah.
Even though the old guy on the bike told me I'd meet someone new each day, I didn't even have to wait that long to find a new friend.
Jogavas do Brasil você?
Sul.
Do Sul?
Sul.
A minha namorada é da Paraná.
Paraná?
Paraná.
Ah, eu sou do Paraná também.
Você vai pro Portree?
Portree.
Fazer o que lá?
Only to visit.
Só uma viagem?
Yeah.
Tá aprendendo inglês da Escócia?
We both realised that we needed to get to the exact same place, and because the bus was taking so long, we decided it'd be best to pull together, along with another lady, to get a taxi to Portree.
So it looks like we're going to call a taxi and split it 3 ways between us to make it just slightly quicker, otherwise we're going to have to wait a long time. Does anyone have preference on seats? Or?
Well, 70 divided by 4. What?
The drive had many twists and turns, but it didn't take too long. I couldn't have imagined a better first time seeing the foggy peaks of the Scottish Highlands with my own eyes. Before I knew it, our taxi was in Portree, not too long after dusk.
So we've just made it to Portree. We're now about to get some cash out so that we can pay our wonderful taxi driver.
It's a lovely language. Portuguese. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
There's loads of places in the hostels, there's fish and chips and stuff all round about.
Awesome, lovely, we'll have a little
Cheers.
explore.
You've
Thanks
got
so
a bit.
much. Nice to meet you. So in line with not having any technology, I'm going to have to find a hotel. There are quite a few hotels and hostels around that I can see, so I'm going to have a little look, see which one looks best, and then I'll book myself a night there. Hostel full, no space.
I started to realise an unfortunate pattern as I went from hotel to hotel.
Okay, it's 20 to 8 now. I'm thinking that I need to find a place pretty quick. I don't want it to get too dark. Is there any space in the hotel tonight?
Room-wise, no, we are completely full. I am so sorry.
No worries. Hiya, are there any vacancies in the hotel? Nothing tonight, okay, no worries.
And believe me, I tried everywhere.
It seems that there is literally nowhere in town for me to stay. I found a church. I'm going to try my luck, see if there's anyone in here who, I don't know, can help me out, hook me up, anything, because I really need a place to stay. It's getting cold, it's getting late, and nowhere has vacancies. It looks like they're in choir practice. If I were to enter right now and join in the singing, they would very quickly stop.
As I walked through the door, I recognised the musical sounds of the Gaelic language, and I knew I was in just the right place. To my surprise, they didn't hesitate to invite me in, so I could sit and have a more immersive listen to the Gaelic tunes. It turned out that this particular choir was about to perform in the National Gaelic competition in a few days, so they were doing some last-minute preparations. They were so eager to do their best that they even had a native coach to ensure that their pronunciation was as perfect as could be.
It sounded amazing.
Eventually, I earned their trust and was given sheet music of my own to sing along. For the sake of all those present, I decided to keep my mouth shut. It was the first time I'd ever heard Scottish Gaelic with my own ears, or met speakers of it in person. Those choral pieces were the exact reason I came to the Scottish Highlands in the first place. The music was one thing, but I wanted to dive into the language itself. Once the singers went on a tea break, I took the opportunity to ask some of them about their stories and how they use the language.
So we've just met a couple of people from the choir. One of them actually speaks Gaelic, and I just asked her if she would be happy to have a quick chat with me about the Gaelic languages. So we're just visiting to look for speakers of the Gaelic language.
All right, okay.
And we were walking by, and I realised that you weren't singing in English. And then when we came a bit closer, we realised it was Gaelic. So we thought we'd come in and just see what it was all about and have a chat with a few people. So I hope you didn't mind us intruding.
No, not at all. No.
I met one man who hadn't been born into a Gaelic-speaking family, but rather taught himself the language in university.
And how would you say your Gaelic level is as a non-native speaker? Would you say that you speak it?
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Oh, it's been great fun.
What was your main reason for being so dedicated to it when you learnt it as a non-native speaker?
I loved the culture. I loved the songs, and through being involved in the songs, I got involved in the poetry and the literature more generally, and that's what my PhD was in.
Waarom je vrienden zag zo nach vrienden met de zitten, maar we besweden gekregen al hier wie weer gaan maar.
The question goes for both of you of whether you think it's important for Gaelic to be learned by more people who, or more like yourself, who haven't spoken it natively, because obviously you're a native speaker.
It's a vital
Do you think it's important for more people to learn it, to preserve the language?
It's a vital part of the culture, and that's why it's great to see what Duolingo's doing. Duolingo,
A lot of people think it's great to learn, and they think they're going to get jobs out of it, and so they're very keen to learn.
Thank you. I'll shoot it away.
While wrapping up the interview and washing some dishes, a couple seemingly sent by angels offered me a place to stay for the night.
I'm from just London, which I live just outside of London, and we came up yesterday to Inverness and then came straight here today.
So while I was in the church where I heard the Gaelic being sung, which was amazing, I actually met a couple called Helen and Alistair who were interested in what I was doing there and why I was interested in the Gaelic language. At which point I explained my situation, that I had no hotel to stay in tonight and that I was looking for a place, and they very kindly offered for me to stay in their home tonight. After a 10-mile drive, we made it to their place, way out in the sticks, and I couldn't thank them enough for giving me a place to get my head down.
This is definitely one of our nicer stays that we've had, so anything's much appreciated. I likely would have ended up sleeping on the streets of Portree if it wasn't for you, so a warm bed is divine. Thank you so much.
Have you got towels yourself?
We don't, but
Okay, well there's a towel here.
Thank
I'll
you.
get another towel.
thank you so much.
So I didn't think I'd have such a comfy bed tonight, and I could not be more appreciative to Helen and Alistair, because I thought that I'd be sleeping on the streets of Portree, which would have been chilly because it is not particularly warm. The next morning, after some of the best sleep I'd ever had, it was back on the road. As if hosting me wasn't enough, Alistair even offered to drive me back to town. He took me to where he works so I could carry on my journey from there.
Good luck very much.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Thanks for your hospitality.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you soon.
Okay, cherry.
My next plan is to head down to Edinburgh in any way I possibly can, hopefully by bus or train.
Almost as quickly as I'd arrived, it was time for me to leave Portree for the next leg of my journey. If I'd learned anything from my time on the Isle of Skye, it was the value of community. Even in the most remote corners of Europe, I'd witnessed humanity coming together to interact as a whole. Portree, you have been a gift. Now, off to Edinburgh, the capital of this stunning nation. After several uncomfortable hours in a bus, and a few more aboard a train, with great delight I could say,
I've made it here to Edinburgh. I'm going to have to find a train back down to London, but first I've put my bags inside the bag holding area and I'm going to go and explore the city for a little bit.
Edinburgh is as good as it gets, and it didn't take me long to realise that. As I was walking around taking in the sights, I noticed a large gathering and I simply had to ask,
Do you know what this is, mate?
No. Well, we saw Princess Anne earlier on in a...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She was opening, but she was just walking around and looking at shops and things like that.
and to my surprise, it was the sister to the throne herself.
There is Princess Anne. You can see her just walking there.
It's not every day that you see royalty, but then again, it's also not every day that you end up in Scotland. One princess sighting later, I made my way to a lovely park to take in the environment. Today in particular, the main event was cycling.
Reckon I could do better. I think I've just realised that that guy who was just doing the stunts over there, I'm pretty sure that's Danny McCaskill, the cyclist. I met Danny McCaskill's mum 2 days ago up in Portree.
After getting a fix of royalty, both British and athletic, it was time to catch my train down south.
It's my final leg back to London, Edinburgh to London by train. Got some snacks for the journey.
After a couple nights in the cosy abodes of Scotland, it was my turn to go back to home sweet home.
Bit of musical entertainment as we arrive from Scotland.
You waiting to pay?
No, carry on, please.
No, but do you want to pay?
No, I can't. I can maybe do a semi-decent fur release from a memory, and I'll prove it.
I wanted to make a quick visit home, and I thought I should let my dad know beforehand. I tried to give him a call, but I quickly realised...
I'm paying to make a phone call.
No worries though, I had time before I needed to make my way home, so it was off to explore the city I know and love. As one of the largest cities globally, London can easily be known as the multicultural epicentre of the old world. Even though the empire is long gone, London still offers a look into the diverse cultures of the modern world. Because of that, I often like to come here to top up on nostalgia and knowledge alike. And if there's one place where this knowledge is most preserved and displayed for the world to see, it's the British Museum.
So right now I'm on my way home, but I've just stopped by here in the British Museum to have a look around and of course get inspired for the next part of my journey.
As an accredited intellectual, it can often be difficult for one to keep himself composed in such an academically stimulating environment.
When I'm loaded, I'm having this as a bath.
Or in my case, I just don't know how to behave myself.
10 out of 10 for the British Museum. Love this place.
British Museum? Check. Next stop, a little way out of London, for home.
So I'm just arriving home, my old stomping grounds.
I was seeing my dad for the first time in a while, so I was eager to tell him the stories from my most recent journey.
So there's the Isle of Skye.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was in Portree.
Yeah.
I'd looked around all of the hotels before and there was like no vacancies. Like everywhere had big signs saying no vacancies. So I was like, oh, it's gonna be another night on the streets.
Like B&Bs and that, was it?
Yeah, all B&B.
Yeah.
Everything on the island was like completely full. It was so weird. Oh, and then we were in Edinburgh and then we saw Princess Anne in a shopping mall.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I went down to Glasgow.
Is that the first time you've been to Scotland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people are so interested in like what I'm doing. Like when I say like, they come up and they're like, oh, you like contracted by BBC? And I'm like, no, I'm just making a documentary on endangered languages going from like Scotland to the Sahara Desert. People are so interested.
Nice. Superb.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been good. And that's only the first tiny leg. So yeah.
That was a good time. That was a good one. That was good.
I said a quick goodbye to my dad, and I was so glad to have seen him, and I was back on the road. This time, I was heading to the very south of England to catch a boat to the Channel Islands, or more specifically, Jersey. I figured it would be even more exciting to cut through the English Channel by water this leg. In all, the boat ride was over 4 hours. Not too long, but also not too short.
So I'm on the boat now, a couple more hours to Jersey, but I'm not complaining. Just look at the view.
Fortunately, time flies, or in this case, sails, and I made it to the island right on schedule.
Just arrived here, the boat's just docked. Bit of a mad rush as everyone tries to get back to their cars and leave on foot. Very loud in here as well. Just trying to find my way out. Whoops.
I made it to the dependency of Jersey around sunset with one goal: meet speakers of its local Romance language, Gerrier. Here on the island you can find the Gerrier language. I've only got a couple hours before my connecting boat to France, but I'm going to try and see what kind of story I can find about the Gerrier language, or at least the culture of Jersey, here in those few hours. After walking round in search for a couple of hours, the sun was starting to set and I was starting to lose hope. So just as I was giving up hope, walking down this street, I finally come across something that tells me that I'm very close to the Gerrier language. I found some inscriptions on the wall of the Gerrier language itself. I thought what I had found there was a sort of hint, a clue to find the Gerrier language. But then I quickly realised it's not Gerrier. Why would you say that about my mum? You live and you learn. So I've come to realise that 2 hours just isn't going to be enough to find anything on the Gerrier language. It's a bit too late to go into most of the places that I might have been able to find the language during the day, but I can't really help it because of my connection. But I'm going to head down to France now and carry on the journey and see where that takes me. One speedy night of sailing later, I arrived to mainland Europe. It was time to say goodbye to the UK and salut to France. I've just arrived here in Saint-Malo, fresh off the boat, and it's time to end this leg of the journey somewhere a little bit special. I arrived in the port city of Saint-Malo, excited to end this first leg of my long journey. And I knew just the place to finish off, the world famous site of Mont-Saint-Michel. So I've just arrived here in Dol de Bretagne, said it right this time. I've got to find my way from here to Mont-Saint-Michel. This is kind of a middle of nowhere here in Brittany, so not really quite sure how I'm going to get to Mont-Saint-Michel from here, but there was no easy way to get there, so I had to try whatever I could to go on foot, which meant trying everything.
Should have learned goat, only speak sheep, so can't really ask him directions.
But I wasn't going to let a monolingual goat ruin my day, especially when I could see that I was almost there.
Getting closer now, there it is.
And to make things even better, a random local stopped and offered to drive me the rest of the way.
Mont-Saint-Michel.
Vous allez à Mont-Saint-Michel?
Oui, c'est pour ça, c'est sur la route.
Oui, parfait. Merci. Au revoir.
It seems that France is full of surprises. And just a few steps later, I made it to the very end of the long journey, right on schedule.
Here we are, 6 miles later, I've made it to Mont-Saint-Michel.
Not bad for no technology.
So it's been a long journey down from Scotland to here at Mont-Saint-Michel in western France. For now I'm going to go and enjoy the island after this first leg, and then I'll see where the adventure takes me next.
Whether it's sitting at a bus stop to meet new people, joining a choir to save a dying language, or telling stories about your travels to a family member, it's evident to me that humans are meant to exist in the plural. Community is key to enjoying life, and now knowing what's out there, I'm eager to see what other communities may lie ahead on my journey, both modern and indigenous.